Alright, Astrobro subscribers, welcome back to another video on the Nakshatras. This particular time I'm going to be talking about Uttarashada Nakshatra and what exactly it means when you have planets in the Nakshatra of Uttarashada, which spans from 26 and 2/3 or 26.4 degrees Sagittarius to 10 degrees Capricorn. So, without further ado, the obligatory statement about nakshatras for people who may be seeing a video on this topic for the first time and they're just looking for astrology and they wonder what I'm talking about when I talk about nakshatras. What is Uttarashada? What are these strange, funny, made-up sounding Sanskrit words? Well, they are the nakshatras is the Vedic astrology way of talking about the lunar mansions, which is the Western correspondence for Vedic astrology. So, or for the nakshatras. So we have the lunar mansions in Western astrology, the lunar stations in astronomy, just regular materialistic scientific astronomy, and then you have the nakshatras in Vedic astrology. And basically what all these things are is the length that the moon, or the length of distance that the moon moves in one day, defined by a 24-hour solar period. So from, let's say, sunrise to the next sunrise the following day, the moon is going to move a certain amount of space through the sky that we can see, and that amount of space is 13 1/3 degrees. You can divide the ecliptic by 13 1/3, and this translates to 13.2 in the base 60 calculation system that most people use for astrology and astronomy in general. And you get 27 lunar mansions, 27 nakshatras. Now in astronomy, that's as far as it goes pretty much, but in astrology, everything is characterized by a personality, and you can use the correspondences between the astrological personalities and the archetypes that are projected upon the sky to predict their influences on human behavior. So people born under these signs with planets in this span of degrees, and also transits, when planets are transiting through this span of degrees, you're going to feel the effects as well. So that being said, what is Purvashada? So it's in the sign of primarily Capricorn, but initially it's in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, in the sign of Sagittarius, what you get is Alright, so firstly, the sign of Sagittarius is a sign about teaching, it's a sign about preaching, it's a sign about being a proponent of a particular belief system. It's about monologues, it's about intellectual authority, and it's about the perception of being an intellectual authority from your crowd. So it doesn't really matter if you're a teacher or a preacher or a judge. You have the right to speak at that moment, and you are projecting your ideology upon, or your beliefs upon, the crowd. So the Sagittarius sort of dwelling is a classroom, is a church, is a court of law, and the Sagittarius desires to be at the front, and they desire to be preaching or teaching their discipline, their field of expertise. Its opposite is Gemini, which is about dialogues and free exchange of conversation, of information between equals. So you can see that there's this authority with Sagittarius, that they have to be the one who is teaching the people, as opposed to having this back and forth communication of equally charged ideas, depolarized ideas that Gemini represents. All right. So, and if you're a Sagittarius and you don't feel like you're like that, it does the tendency to want to teach and preach gets more pronounced as you age, because the initial form of Sagittarius is a student, and then you become a teacher later in your life. After the age of 36, every 12 years you get more and more teacherly as a Sagittarius, I've noticed. And that's because Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. So the Nakshatra of Purvashada is basically, Purvashada, yeah, is the co-ruler of it is Sun. So Sun is your ego, it's your aesthetic sense of self, it is your artistic self-expression, it is the core force of your personality. And because it is effectively your ego, it likes to be in control. It likes to have everybody standing around observing it. One of the ways to analyze the glyph for Sun in astrology, and actually in astronomy too, the glyph for Sun is a circle with a dot in the middle. And one of the ways to view that is as a stage. There are many ways to interpret it, but one of the ways is as a stage with the Sun in the middle and all of its admirers around the circle on the periphery. So you get the sense that this is a person who enjoys attention. This is a person who enjoys being an authority. This is a person who enjoys having their ideas respected. And this is a person who enjoys being respected for who they are and what they have to say. So when you mix the energies of Jupiter and Sun, because each nakshatra effectively provides a co-ruler, as well as the original ruler of the sign, the zodiac sign, which for Sagittarius is going to be Jupiter, and then you add the co-ruler of Sun, you get like I said, a person who is very interested in being an intellectual authority. Their ego is invested in their intellectual pursuits, in their ability to teach, to be the most useful communicator in the room. And there are certain pitfalls that these people can fall into. One of these pitfalls is becoming so obsessive about being right and being the smartest person in the room and having to be that sense of authority that they refuse to listen to other people. So the Shakti associated with this nakshatra is each nakshatra has kind of like a special ability that people who have more than one planet in that nakshatra or a strong placement tend to experience at some point in their lives. The Shakti of Uttarashada is the ability to have an unchallenged victory. So if you are constantly projecting the lesser forms of your ego onto people, if you are constantly trying to be the smartest person in the room to the detriment of everyone else, that does not constitute an unchallengeable victory, because people can, even if your ideas are good, people can challenge you on the basis of your character. So I would say that the true task for these people who have the late degree Sagittarius placements from 26.4 to the beginning of Capricorn is to not only have the good ideas and the expansive voice that allows them to move crowds, and be respected, but also to be strong of character and to listen to other people and to know when other people know things you don't. And that will give you the ability to really help yourself and others and to be respected as a good person, not just somebody who's smart. Because intelligence and influence isn't everything, especially when it's clouded by your egos. So that being said, the Capricorn side of this nakshatra is, again, it's Saturn and Sun. And now when you're mixing the energies of Saturn and Sun, what you get is sort of a Uranus-like figure who is trying to expand the boundaries and the natural laws and to use these natural laws to gain some sort of attention, some sort of status, some sort of physical increase in their own ability to leverage reality around them. So you get basically a creative scientist who, the character Rick from Rick and Morty is a lot like this. He is a masterful scientist who's basically omnipowerful with his ability to control the material world around him via his deep understanding of the natural laws and his powerful, forceful ego and personality. And the problem that these people tend to run into is that their relationships suffer because when your sun is in Capricorn, especially when it's in the sun part of Capricorn, it's negatively aspecting the sign of Cancer. And you can even see that in the show. Like, he constantly, even though he's so unbelievably powerful and smart and can use the world around him in all these different ways, he runs into problems continually with his family. So that is something to watch out for here, is the negative aspect on the sign of Cancer from the first 10 degrees of Capricorn, because the sun being in its own nakshatra is going to magnify the detrimental effect on Cancer. Now, that's if you have the sun here. Other planets here can, like Mercury here does very well. Mercury in the first 10 degrees of Capricorn does very well, because you get these people who are master scientists, masters of the material world, who can actually leverage natural laws to gain their victory and to use science in a way that is actually incredibly effective to achieve their goals. So that was my video on the topic of Uttarashada. I keep wanting to say Purvashada, but Uttarashada. And next I'm going to be doing Sharavan Nakshatra, which is coming next. So keep in tune for that.